Brands Hatch is a track in West Kingstown, England, about 35 kilometers southeast of London. It features two track layouts, the short Indy circuit and the Grand Prix variant we'll be covering today. The race lap record of 1 minute 9.593 was set up by Nigel Mansell in his Formula car in 1986. However, for GT3 cars, we will be looking at these lap times per license approximately. Now we're going to tell you about all the braking points and the racing line, so you can put yourself up on those leaderboards too. All laps are driven in the Ferrari 488 Evo that comes with the Imola DLC. Be advised that your car may have slightly different braking and throttle points or gears, as no two brands react the same to the pilot's input. Our main braking points here reference trackside colored fences and some ground markings such as curbs. While these points are a good reference, the desired braking point can very easily vary depending on the speed you're carrying from the previous corner. So use this guide as an approximation and strong entry point to learning this track. Do keep in mind that on brands especially, any setup you build will perform very differently in the hot lap mode, as the left hand side tires don't warm up in time, so I sincerely recommend you to practice this on a server or in the available hot stint or practice mode. The reference lap we're using in this video is a 1:23.1 driven online on a fast track. If you stick around until the end, you'll also see a 21.9 driven by Luke Southall in the hot lap mode on a cold track. Note that both these laps use the setup we've linked in the description. For turn 1, we're looking to brake in between the two boards or the fence markings on the left side of the track. Bring the car from the middle of the track to the outside with only some slight steering input and increase that steering angle as we go off our brakes. Coast into the turn for a brief moment until you hit a late apex. During longer sessions, I like to actively run over that inside curb here a bit, which marks our acceleration point for turn 1. Then it's fully flat on the exit. Make sure you steer a lot inwards and the car should stick. Don't be afraid to run out wide here, just shy of the sand, that's all within track limits. For turn 2, we're looking to do something special. While we're going to be braking in a straight line just before the bridge, we want to give the car some initial rotation before we have to step on the brakes, essentially pointing the steering wheel towards the apex here before we even see it. In essence, we're looking to slow down the car while going past the initial apex and getting our slowest point a bit deeper into the corner, while very progressively releasing the brakes here. Our target speed for turn 2 is about 70 kilometers or 43 miles, at which point we're looking to accelerate first by about 80% and then floor it after just a moment as we go as wide as necessary on exit. Here you can see me squiggling my wheel a little on the exit to counter the oversteer you often get exiting turn 2. In the following days there'll actually be a follow-up video covering a special pro technique that uses just this squiggling. Between turns 2 and 3 we have a little breathing room which we're going to use to bring the car over to the far right of the track, braking a brief moment before this curb. Notice how most of the braking is actually negated by the ABS, which is indicated by that red bar of braking turning yellow. Realistically, you only need to brake at 50% force here, but for an extended period of time. Make sure you don't push the car on entry too much. We're looking to go flat as soon as possible, so don't compromise that exit by taking in too much speed. Use the runoff on the right as you see fit. Track limits are wider than you think here, so experiment with your line to get yourself the best exit possible. The entry to turn 4 begins as we pass the orange marking on the fence. In a sense, we're replicating a lot from turn 1 here, bringing the car from the middle of the track slightly towards the outside through a shallow steering input until we coast for a moment here. As you might have noticed, I was coming in a bit too close to the apex on this lap, so I accelerated mildly to make the entry wider. You can use some slight gas on entry here when you notice that the car turns in too much instead of reducing your steering. That's a no-no. This will help build you confidence around here because you can turn in early without as much fear of running over the curb. Aim to accelerate once the car has aligned itself with the inside of the corner where the higher curbing here is replaced by a thin line. Foot to the floor and bring the car out wide on the exit without running over this curb too much. Again, it's easier to oversteer, so mind your steering on exit. For the long straight, we're just gonna hold the gears as usual and prepare for the fast right-hander coming up. We're looking to brake about a car length before the board or 50 meters before the marking on the fence and perform a quick downshift. This can be a single or a double downshift depending on your car. Coast the car inwards for a brief moment until you hit this apex or reach a lowest speed of 170 kilometers or 105 miles. Then it's back on the power as we go out wide. Don't be afraid to go up until the grass here, even more than I do. It's well within the track limits, it doesn't slow us down. Tip, oftentimes you get more actual steering input here, while steering less on your physical wheel. Don't turn in too much during this whole section. Up next, we have two of the most difficult corners in the game, so listen up, let's get to them. For this first kink, we're gonna brake much earlier than you might think, before the orange marking on the left, or the sign, going down a gear right away. We're aiming at running over the inside curb with only some mild braking, then, once the car has fully cleared the curb, full on the throttle, as we make good use of this stable runoff here. For the next one, I see even very quick drivers spin out, but here's the easiest way to tame this corner, even at high speed. We simply follow the outside lines here until just before the braking zone of the corner. Use the orange marking on the left, or the fact you can't see over the crest anymore, as your makeshift brake point. Once again, we have a mild progression from the middle to the far outside during our entry here. Don't try to push the car too much on entry here, it's very easy to make a mistake. So just cut over the inside curb a comfortable amount, and we're looking to floor the gas when the car has fully cleared the apex curb. Run out somewhat wide as necessary, but make sure not to touch the grass at any point in this corner. Doing so will unsettle the car and most certainly ruin your lap, if not your race. For the second to last corner, pay attention to the orange board on the right, brake well within time, and make sure you hit that inside apex curb. Give it a good run. It's definitely gonna help you with your traction and get you a nice exit. The runoff curb here is also very forgiving, so use it as you see fit. Just make sure we're getting a nice power input on the exit. For the final turn, we have an easy to spot braking board, or alternatively the tire stack on the left, or the transition where the grass goes onto the tarmac. Choose whichever you like. Hold the brakes for a brief moment. We're looking to coast into the turn, so no inputs outside of steering, and we're using the elevation on the inside of the hair to slow down the car. Begin to accelerate as the car begins to dip down again and run out very wide up until the edge of the track. Of course, touching the sand trap here is going to slow us down, so do avoid it. And that's it. We've finished one lap at this British speedster of a track. We'll be publishing more of these lap guides in the next week, so you'd better like and subscribe so you don't miss any new lap guides. Expect one for every track there is in ACC, including DLCs. We're also happy about any comment you leave us here, and for all those that are still watching, we also have a link to the setup used in the video. Now enjoy a 121.9 lap to help you see all this put in action. Go check out Luke Southall, who drove this lap, on twitch.tv/LukeSouthall3. He's also a driver for RLR, and you might catch him live right now. Go check it out.